I'm Adrienne Pedersen. Today on Upfront, a growing divide over the state Republican Party's endorsement process. Candidates now pressuring for a no endorsement option.
There's one candidate in particular that has run against the Republican Party.
A member of the executive committee standing by to respond. A new mayor in Milwaukee for the first time in 18 years. The phone calls he's already making to the Capitol. Cavalier Johnson joins us in studio. And the new UN report on climate change. Just a handful of American scientists weighing in, and the professor from UW-Madison at the center of it all is here. Plus, new firsthand accounts from Ukraine. The former Wisconsin teacher refusing to leave the war zone.
Taking on the issues important to Wisconsin. This is Upfront with your host, Adrienne Pedersen.
Hello, thank you for joining us. Growing public criticism, even accusations of a rigged system from some Republican candidates about the state party's endorsement process. This comes just a few weeks ahead of the party convention next month. Headlines this past week showed the divide among Republicans as they try to win back the governor's office and re-elect U.S. Senator Ron Johnson. The state party's executive committee set the rules, so let's take a look at them. To be considered for an endorsement, candidates for governor and U.S. Senate must have raised at least $100,000 from at least 1,000 donors by March 15th. And candidates for lieutenant governor and attorney general needed $50,000 from at least 300 donors. This will leave some out of contention. Bill Fiana is a member of the executive committee and the 3rd Congressional District's GOP chairman. So I appreciate you being with us today to just kind of talk through this, break it all down. In your memory, has this been a controversial thing before?
No. And I'll say that the great majority of candidates that came before the endorsement committee were supportive of the process.
Why do you think it's getting some attention now?
Well, there's one candidate in particular that has run against the Republican Party. They call this political insiders. And, that's a strategy. That's a political strategy to run against the Republican Party.
Are you talking about Kevin Nicholson?
One of the candidates. And so, if you're going to run against, actually, there's probably more than one that's running against the party. So if you're going to do that, I guess, that's part of what's happening here is casting some doubt about how the process works. But the great majority of people don't have any problem with the process as it stands.
Does the party still plan to endorse a candidate at the convention next month? Is that still the plan?
There will be a vote for endorsement, yes.
And according to WisPolitics, Rebecca Kleefisch and Timothy Ramthun have met the threshold. Will they be the only two options?
Well, we have not yet held a vote. I am serving on the endorsement committee. Our recommendations will be reported back to the full executive committee of the state party. And then there will be a vote on which candidates are deemed viable. And there is some disagreement between members of the committee about, who should be allowed to participate in the endorsement process and who shouldn't. And ultimately, those differences will be resolved by the state executive committee as a whole.
Kevin Nicholson, who is running for governor, started a petition to offer a no endorsement option. He's not the only one who wants this either. Some county parties, they say they want this as well. I know Ramthun has said he doesn't appreciate this process. So are you considering a no endorsement option? Will that be there next month?
Well, I know that there are people who want to have a specific no endorsement option. And what I would say to them is there's already a no endorsement option. For a candidate to reach 60% support by the delegates is not guaranteed. There have been many times where a candidate has not been able to reach that threshold. And, this does not preclude a candidate from continuing to run if they'd like to. But what it is it's a way for the Republican Party and the 5,000 members, the people that are the volunteers that do the work to run these state campaigns, to make their opinion known. And so these candidates, we're having our 3rd Congressional District caucus tomorrow. There'll be 240 people there. These candidates have been coming to caucuses, county caucuses, Lincoln dinners. And so our delegates have had an opportunity to really get to know these people, ask them tough questions. And I think the opinion of the members of the Republican Party, the people who do all the work, is something that people care about.
And so Kevin Nicholson, his argument is that this is just sticking with machine politics, that you're playing favorites. You can choose the same people. How do you respond to that?
Well, it is a machine. You better have a organization with people that know how to run campaigns. So on a statewide basis, these candidates are going to have to campaign in 72 counties. They're going to need people to write letters to the editor to inform people about why they're supporting those candidates and all the work I previously described. So I don't think it's unreasonable for the members of our party to express their opinion about who they think the strongest candidate is. And I'll just say, I think they're in the best position to have an informed opinion because they've had the opportunity to meet these people on many occasions and get to know them.
What about Tommy Thompson? Do you think he'll run for governor?
I have no idea what Tommy's going to do. I like Tommy, but it's getting pretty late in the game here. Governor Evers had $10 million on hand as of the beginning of the year. He's got another quarter of fundraising under his belt. And at this point, it's becoming a shorter and shorter period of time for candidates to raise money so that they can compete. This is probably going to be the most expensive governor's race in state history. And so candidates who started earlier and started raising money earlier are going to have a much better chance of success.
Which is what some people are saying is part of the problem, that they're just spending all this time raising money and it's becoming more expensive instead of letting someone in who could actually change things.
Let me tell you something. You can't win elections without money. So whoever the Republican person is that wins the primary in August is going to be at a huge disadvantage in terms of the money that's raised. But money absolutely has a huge impact on the outcome of these races. So if you think that you're going to vote for somebody, an endorsement who hasn't raised any money and that they're going to have a real shot at winning an election against a governor who is going to have tens of millions of dollars, I'd say that you're living in fantasy land.
Bill Feehan, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Adrian. It was nice to be here.
Coming up, a new mayor in Milwaukee for the first time in 18 years.
It's a new day in Milwaukee. I'm the mayor now.
Cavalier Johnson promising a better relationship with the state. He's here standing by to respond.